The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of WBGR Network.
Over the years, our beautiful city, Washington, D.C., has developed into a large, multicultural society. There are so many career opportunities that draws people to this beautiful DMV area. Tourists travel from far and near to see the National Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and many historical museums. And you can find any type of food you desire in these diverse localities. But underneath all the beautiful and charmed attractions, there's people like you and I that struggle from day to day with normal issues. There's also people in the DMV area that suffer from anxiety, PTSD, depression, and other mental health issues. Some issues are caused by traumatic incidents, and some issues are caused from daily situations that we find ourselves stumbling into just by living our normal lives. We are often taught as children to watch what you say or don't talk too much. But right now and today, we are stopping the silence. DMV Madam D is here to tell you you are not alone. And this is your platform to help stop the silence. We will discuss daily issues in which we all struggle with as regular people who simply just want to live in content and comfortable in our normal lives. Do not feel the need to keep your mouth covered about your emotions and feelings. It's okay to not be okay. So uncover your mouth, DMV, and welcome Madam D in Stopping the Silence.
Hi everyone, welcome to Stopping the Silence, and I want to thank each and every one of you all for your love and your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wanted to come on to explain to you why my movement is called Stopping the Silence. A couple of years ago, I was involved into a critical incident, and it put me into a dark place. But in order for me to get out of that dark place, I had to stop my silence. I had to seek community. And I had to get into the Word of God. But it's important for us to pour into each other's life. We have the opportunity to bless someone else from our stories. And because of that, my movement is based on me stopping my silence so somebody else can stop their silence. I want to read the scripture. It's from Acts 18, 9 through 10. One night the Lord spoke to Paul in a vision. Do not be afraid. Keep on speaking. Do not be silent. For I am with you, and no one is going to attack you and harm you, because I have many in the city. There's many in the city that needs to hear your voice. You can contribute to their deliverance. If you think about it, what is the most richest land there is on this planet? To me, it's the graveyard. There's a lot of people that die with so much riches, skills, talents that they do not pour out to people. We have to set forth that standard. We have to bless other people so the generations after us can be blessed. We cannot die loaded. We have to fulfill our purpose, but we have to break down those barriers of life that cause us not to reach our full potential. It is our responsibility as humans, as mankind, to stop our silence so we can help someone else move forward, be delivered, to be restored. I had to stop my silence because I had to reach my full potential, and I'm still reaching my full potential. But in order for me to keep growing, to be who God needs me to be, I have to continue to pour into people's life. And I need for you all to help me stop the silence. We have to help each other, because whatever you went through can help somebody else get delivered. We are all in this together, and we have to break that silence so we can break those barriers that is causing us not to reach our full potential. This platform is where people can come on to help break their silence. You have to break your silence so you will not die loaded. Do not return back into the earth without fulfilling your purpose and without giving people what God has given you. Do not be a part of that graveyard, people who died and did not give back to people. Do not leave legacies. You matter. You are not alone. Stop your silence. Help someone else stop your silence. This is a platform where you can help stop the silence. Help me stop the silence so we can fulfill our purpose. We can be who we are called to be.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stopping the Silence. Happy Sunday and happy Easter to everyone. Thank you for joining us in Stopping the Silence. Today, our topic is I knocked on every door for answers. And we have a special guest. She's all the way from Los Angeles, California. Unfortunately, today we could not get her on the screen, but we do have her over the phone, and she is going to stop her silence today. And her name is Sobe, and she is going to tell her story. Sobe?
Hi, my name is Sobe, and I'm from LA, and I just want to share with you guys a little bit about me and my encounter with God, and also when I dealt with depression and what got me there. So it all started like me as growing up. I have two other siblings, my brother and my sister, and we were always like very close, and we went to school together, we dressed alike. Mm-hmm. I was 2 years older than her. I was 10 and she was 7. Mm-hmm. And she got sick with plastic anemia, and then she unfortunately passed away. And me, as you know, as a little girl, I didn't understand, losing someone. And I took it pretty hard because I felt like half of me was missing. Right. And by me, like, always, like, walking to school by myself, and the kids asking me, oh, where's your friend? Where's the girl you walk with? That was very sad and depressing for me. And I would see my mom, going through her hurt and not really understanding what I was feeling. Mm-hmm. And as I grew up, I grew up with that emptiness, feeling lonely, and I even struggled in school, just making friends and everything, and going through also my parents, through their issues. It just took me to a really dark place when I was going through my teenage years. I was like about 17, and it got to the point where I was depressed, and I didn't know it was depression. I didn't go out. I was just stuck at home, and I went through a eating disorder. And I was bulimic, and my mom found out, and she tried to help me. Mm-hmm. She didn't know how. Sometimes she would like scream at me, or she would like get mad, and then she would try to act nice. But by the point she would act nice and try to talk to me, I was already like angry at her, Right. And it got to a point where I talked to God, and I asked him, like, I don't want to die. I don't want to continue living this way. And I knew at that moment he rescued me from depression because I got out by myself. I said enough, and I'm gonna start my life, and I moved on. But that wasn't the breaking point for me to allow God in my life, and that's how I was able to get out of that depression that I had.
And you were 17 years old when that happened?
Yeah, I was 17, and for 2 years, I was in depression.
How did you know? How did you know you were in depression?
Because I didn't get out of my room. For years, I was in my room. I didn't want to see people. I wasn't involved in anything. I didn't want to go to school. I had to get homeschool. I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want to talk to people. I just felt like in a place where I couldn't get out. Like, I felt like I was locked inside my own house. Like, I felt like I was in prison. Like, in my own body, too. Like, very insecure. I just didn't understand what was happening to me. Like, why am I going through this? How do I get out? And now I understand it was depression, but at the moment I didn't know it was depression.
Right. You was kind of content in that situation, in that dark place.
Yeah.
So what was the actual breaking point for you?
I just got tired because it was 2 years. I was turning 18. I started when it was 16, and then when I was going to turn like 18, my mom would tell me, like, what are you going to do? You know, you have to work. You have to do something with your life. And, I mean, I felt the pressure to, like, do something, but then again, I couldn't. And that's when I decided, like, you know, God, I need you. Because either I end up, like, dead or I get out of this.
Right.
And I felt like my parents only made things worse because they had their own issues. You know, I would just hear them fighting. And, I mean, how are they going to help me if their lives are not in a good place, you know? And it would just push me more and more and more.
So let me ask you, did they even offer to get you help?
Yeah, my dad was not present. He was dealing with his own addiction with gambling, and he wasn't able to be present. It was mainly my mom, but she used like the anger first and then try to help me. You know, sometimes when parents, they feel like kids have to know, you know, you have to know what's right and what's wrong and what to do and what not to do, you know. And sometimes they might say the wrong things or get mad, get angry because you're not snapping out of it, you know.
Right.
It's easy to snap out of depression. You know, so I know that she would, you know, have that anger because she didn't want to lose me because she knew what I was doing was bad for my health.
Right.
But, you know, she just didn't know how to.
I know you and I had discussed in the past about your ex, so tell us about that and how God delivered you from that situation as well.
From what situation?
From your ex? Yeah, how did you break away from that situation?
You know, in that situation, I felt like I was back. It took me back to kind of where I was when I was a teenager.
Right.
Where I was in that cycle where I couldn't get out. I was feeling depressed, angry, sad, all these emotions where I was stuck. I was stuck in a hole where I couldn't get out. I felt like I was in prison. I felt like, you know, like there's no hope for me. It took me to the same spot. And The only way I was able to break free from that was honestly just surrendering my life to God, because He was the one that gave me the strength to like get out of that, because it's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
super hard. Like you don't want to hurt people, you don't want to hurt your family, but then again, you also have to think about yourself because you're not in a good situation.
Right.
And when you're dealing with something, with a really bad situation, relationship, or something within yourself, it's like it's hard to find something that would be able to help you to get out. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it could help. Anything that you might use or do could help you temporarily, but the strength comes within God.
Most definitely.
Yes, because He's the only one that is able to give you that strength, that happiness, and he helped me get out.
Mm-hmm. And to piggyback on what you said about nothing can help you but God, a lot of things changes. A lot of things has variables, but God is the only thing that's stable and that can keep that consistency. That's why that's the only thing that can really build us and to break down the things inside of us, because he knows us more than anything, and that's where we find faith and find endurance so we can fight through whatever that we're going through. So I totally agree. There's nothing else that can help you and that can change you but God. And deliverance. That's key. You have to be delivered from things to break down those things that affects you emotionally, mentally, and most of all spiritually. So I totally agree with you. So how has your situation with your parents as an adolescent and your relationship issues with your previous boyfriend, how has that altered your relationship with your children? Has
I'm
it
sorry,
made
you
you better?
cut off at the end.
I'm sorry.
At the end, you cut off.
Okay, so the relationship that you had with your ex, and then also your relationship that you had with your parents. What are some things that you learned from the past that you teach your children? How is your relationship with your children at this moment? Because you've been through what you've been through as an adolescent and as an adult in your trials.
It helped me in the way of having more communication with them
Mm-hmm.
and being more attentive to them,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want them to have to go through what I went through.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they were to go through it, I know what they might feel or what they might need from me.
Right.
Um, it's helped me to be more patient as well, and just to know, like, also to push them to the right direction of seeking God. That's my main, like, important for me to teach my kids,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to understand that just because you're following God, and you're you know learning from Him and everything's gonna be okay. We're not gonna go through difficult situations. They're not gonna go through difficult situations. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure my kids are gonna have to go through a lot of rough things, and that's things that you can't prevent from happening. But I know that me teaching them right now, they're gonna know the answer. If
Right.
they're lost, they're gonna know. Okay, I learned this. I know what to do.
Right. I agree. I agree. I know when you and I talked, you spoke about your son, and I thought that was a wonderful story. And I know people are dealing with all kinds of things, especially with their children. And I kind of want you to kind of talk about that, if you're willing to, about your son.
Okay. About my son.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I first had my daughter, then like 2 years later, I got pregnant with my son, and I really wanted a boy. I was like, okay, now I have the girl, I want the boy, and I had a normal delivery, no, normal pregnancy, and when I had him, it was a shocking to me when the doctors, let me know that something went wrong, that he he was a little bit deformed, and he needed to be transferred to Children's Hospital, and I took it really hard because I wasn't expecting that, like no mother does,
Right.
and I saw him perfectly fine, but the doctors were saying no, there's something wrong with him. And as for me, once I saw him, he was diagnosed with a chromosome deletion, and it has no name. Nobody has it, so they can't base it on anybody. And I took it really hard because I was like, how can this happen to me? How? Like, why? Like, out of everybody, why me? And with no name, a sickness with no name, not to know what to expect. I took it really hard, and it took me a while because this is not where I accepted God. Like, I was still going through this, and I was still not surrendering to Him yet. Like, I had to go through a lot of things for me to say, okay, I had enough, And after, like, my son and everything, he's 5 years old, he's not talking, he's not sitting, he's not walking, never got to say mom. It was really sad for me, and when I reached to God, like, he gave me that healing, and also that insurance that no matter what, I'm gonna be strong enough to take care of him.
Right.
And I'm so grateful right now just for his life, and whatever he's able to do, I would be thankful. Like, sometimes we don't appreciate our lives. Like, we're lucky we're able to see, we're able to talk, we're able to move. We have legs, we have arms, and until you actually don't have something, then you realize, man, like, I'm really lucky.
Right.
And that's how I see it with my son. I see it like I try to help him as much as I can, and whatever he's able to give me, if he's able to, just by saying mom one day, I mean, I take it. I take it,
That's such a blessing. He's a blessing to you, and it's gonna help you more have faith in God. So
Yes.
that's amazing, Sobe. Thank you for telling that story. And before we go, I want to ask you one more question, okay? Because there's many people that are watching. If you saw a young lady going down the same road as you did, what would be the best advice you would give her?
The advice I would give her would be that there is nothing in this world. There is no money. There is no person. There is no any materialistic things that will give you that happiness, that self-esteem, that worth, that would fill that emptiness that we carry on in life. There's nothing. Anything else will give you temporarily happiness, but even if you're at a stage where you're like happy, you have everything, what would happen when you don't? We need him. We need him because he's the one who's going to give us that happiness, that strength, that peace that we all need. He's the only one. And we don't have to wait until we're in a hole, until we're in depression. We don't have to wait for that day. Like, he's there for us. And that's what I would tell them.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your story. Vulnerability is important in stopping your silence because sometimes we look at when we share our story, we'll look at maybe looked at differently or looked at less than. But when you walking in purpose, it doesn't even matter. No pride, no shame can come between you and the love of God. And I think that's very important. Vulnerability and stopping your silence is key for helping someone else. So I thank you for joining us today, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.
There you have it. I want to thank her for coming on the show today. If you would like to be on the show to tell your story, help somebody, it is key in helping someone. You have to open up and you have to stop your silence because somebody could be going through the same situation as you are, and you will have more information or just more experience in that. If you want to come on the show to talk about your story, please do not hesitate to contact me. My email is at the screen. Please contact me if you would like to share your story. I will be on every Sunday at 3 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. So please, thank you for coming on Stopping the Silence. And remember, you are not alone. We are here with you, and you're going to help me help you stop your silence. Thank you, and join us next week. Bye.